I found another interesting package called ForesightJS. Your user next move already fetched. Pretty cool. As you can see, we have this arrow. This basically will guess the next move of the user. This is really useful. For example, if you have like a card like this, as you can see, this is the element. Before I touch the element, as you can see, it's basically make a fetch like this. Pretty cool, right? This is really useful. For example, if you have card, then you want to fetch the data. So if the fetch happen before user click the element, will make the user feel the application super fast, because before user click that, it's already fetched. Then if user open the component, the data is already there because the data is cached, right? This is basically the demo of the applications. As you can see, if I hover this red lipstick, this is basically make a fetch into the API here, right? Then if I hover the powder here, it's also make a fetch. And of course, now if I click the red lipstick, the data is instant right now, right? There is no loading skeleton whatsoever. This is pretty cool. If you take a look in here, if you're using normal fetch, will be happen, right? When user move the cursor to the card, nothing happen, of course. But if user click the card or the button, it's basically make a fetch start right now, right? The fetching start right now. Then the skeleton loading UI is rendered. Then also after that, content will appears on the UI. And this is what happened if you use ForesightJS. As you can see, the cursor start moving, right? The ForesightJS detect the trajectory, and then the fetch start early. And then this basically we get the data, of course. And then after user click the card or the button, the content will appear instantly because the data is already there. The data is already cached. So that's why the ForesightJS is pretty cool to try. So let's try to install and use that on React applications. Alright, so let's start by running my open code on a develop folder. Then inside in here, I'm going to try to generate the React application using feed. My prompt is generate React app in this current folder, use feed, TS, and Tailwind CSS. For the application name, I'm going to type my own answer for site demo. Alright, so now my prompt is open the ForesightJS demo in VS Code. Let's take a look at the result on the browser. As you can see, super clean. This is my prompt. Build a simple product catalog using React and Tailwind CSS and fetch product list from this URL. And I want to get like 20 products. Then show each product as a plain card in grid that have thumbnail, titles, price, keep the UI simple, etc. When the user click a card, fetch the full product detail from this URL, right? This is the product ID. So I want to put the delay is 800 milliseconds before responding. This is intentional to simulate real-world latency and show the detail in a panel that slide in from the right side and etc. Right? Use Tailwind CSS and not complex design system needed. Just copy everything, then paste that to my open code, then hit enter. Alright, this is done. So let's take a look at the code. I'm going to close this open code, then go to source, and then app.tsx. As you can see, let me see right here. So basically, all the card is just rendered on this main app component. As you can see, we have the header. This is the main tag basically that have the product that render the product card. So the product card is basically component. Right here, we have the button card in here that have an image and then etc. So if I click that, it's basically will running the onClick function. Let me see what the onClick function, which is basically handle card click. So this function is basically will make a fetch in this URL. And also this function is basically will put the ID value into the set selected ID and also set panel open to true. Let me try to see the set selected ID. This is basically in state. So let me try to see if we have the selected ID value, what will be happen on the UI. As you can see, if we have the value, it basically will render the product detail panels. So let me try to see the UI. Here we go, right? Pretty cool. If I click that, it basically will render the product detail panel, which is this one right here. I just opened the network tab in here. Let's try to see what happens if I click the product. For example, this product in here. Then as you can see, this basically make a fetch request, right? We have like a 1 second this time in here. Wait until the data will be rendered. So let's try to another one, which is this chicken here. If I click that, as you can see, it's delay like a 1 second as well, right? So now let's try to implement the ForesightJS. As you can see, this is the demo. Pretty cool. If I hover like this, as you can see, it's just basically make a fetch before I click the element. That's pretty cool. So let's take a look how we can install this ForesightJS. I'm gonna click get started. Then as you can see here, we have these down here, right? This is the way we install it, npm install js ForeSign. I'm going to copy that, then go back to my VS Code. Then here, I'm going to try to install that manually. Here we go. So next, I want to set up the ForesightJS to the project. Here is exactly what to change. First, on the app.tsx, initialize Foresight Manager on mount. So this basically will create this user flag, then running the Foresight Manager.initialize. Then in the product card component, register each card with ForesightJS. And then in the click handler, check the catch first. Just that's it. I just want to copy everything and paste that to my open code and try to explain to you after this. Alright, this is done. So let's take a look what we get on the code. I'm going to close the open code. Then let's see. First on the app.tsx, on the top in here is basically this is the initialize ForesightJS on for the whole applications. We do that on the use effect Foresight Manager.initialize, right? It's basically come from the package. Then as you can see, we also have catch in here, use ref, right? Then also this is the function handle prefetched. And also we have the handle card click. This is basically what happened when we click the card. Inside the handle card click function, basically we have condition. As you can see in here, if we have catch, basically just open instantly, right? But if we don't have the catch, maybe user just click very fast, right? Just do fetch normally, right? On the product card component, this is basically the place that we register the component to the ForesightJS. The way we do that is running that inside the use effect, right? Then running the Foresight Manager.instant.register. Then the element is basically come from the ref. As you can see, the card ref in here is basically you put that right here, right? As a reference on this button card. Then the callback, right? This basically same fetch we already used on click, but now it run 200 until 400 milliseconds earlier, while the cursor is still moving toward the card. After that, it's basically will store the result in the parent catch, so the click can use it instantly without fetching again. So let's try to see on the browser, and I hope this is work. Let me try to go back here. Then as you can see, if I hover, nothing happened. Let me try to refresh that. Hopefully this is working. If I hover, as you can see, guys, basically it make a fetch, right? This one in here, as you can see, pretty cool, right? Of course, after this is make a fetch, if I click that, it's just open instantly because it's already there. The data is already catch. Let me try to close that. If I click that, right, it's basically will make the application super fast. So let's try to see in detail here. As you can see, if I hover the red lipstick, it's basically make a fetch, right? All right, it's cool. If I go to powder here, it's make a fetch again. And after a couple seconds, I want to go back to the red lipstick card. And as you can see, it's not make a fetch again. Pretty cool. So basically the data it's stored on the catch right now, right? If I click that, of course, it's basically instant, right? As you can see here, it's feel instant like this. Pretty cool. Definitely you have to try this package. It's really cool. Thank you so much for watching. See you on another video.